Donald Trump's top economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, has finally told us exactly when we are going to be getting those $2,000 tariff rebate checks that Donald Trump has been promising to people since July. And the answer, according to Kevin Hassett, is never. Sorry, MAGA. Those $2,000 checks aren't going to come because Kevin Hassett told Margaret Brennan on CBS's Face the Nation this past weekend that Trump can't do that, you silly goose. No, that has to be an act of Congress because, they got the power of the purse. Trump can't do anything. Why would you think he could? Other than the fact that he has said it repeatedly. So yes, those 2,000 tariff rebate checks, we now have confirmation they ain't happening. Here is how this conversation went down. Margaret Brennan asks, let me ask you a bit about tariffs. Since as far back as July, we have heard the president refer to this idea of $2,000 checks being given out to households, the Treasury Secretary said this would go to households making less than $100,000. Should Americans plan to receive those checks in 2026? And Kevin Hassett said this, Congress is going to have to send those monies to those peoples. I want to read that again because I love the way he said it. Congress is going to have to send those monies to those peoples. Now, grammatically speaking, buddy, I'm just saying, a better way to say that would have been Congress is going to have to send that money to people. You don't have to say those peoples because it makes it sound like you're referring to multiple different, races or whatever, or, demographics, like those peoples. This was not a people's statement, but it shows how flustered you are. You tried to make it sound flowery and nice, but instead you came across as an illiterate idiot. But then he quickly pivoted, because right after that sentence he says, but the thing we can say is that since July we have had a lot of positive news about the economy. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and stop right there because nope. Like, literally not a solid piece of positive news about the economy since July. In fact, July is when we started getting nothing but negatives because that's when we got the jobs report that revised down June and May. And July was, of course, negative. So you're like, well, since July, it's been nothing but positive news. Literally the opposite is what happened. It's been nothing but horrible news. And taking previous positive news and making it worse. It's not even just that these times are bad. Since July, we've had to go back and make other months bad too. That's how bad it is. But then Brennan says, so a new proposal for these, it's not necessarily coming from existing tariff revenue, talking about the checks still because he tried to get off it. And Hassett said, oh, well, it could come from tariff revenue, but in the end, we get taxes, we get tariffs, we get revenue from lots of places, and then Congress decides how to spend those monies. That's an appropriation. This would have to be money that's an appropriation. And then Brennan flatly said, so don't bank on it, in other words. Because even she wasn't going to entertain him anymore. It was just like, so basically you're just saying it's not going to happen. And Hassett just kind of stood there like an idiot, like, whoa, it's not happening. Just like most of us that don't have MAGA gear hiding in our closets already knew. Like, this is not a shocking story. What's shocking is that this idiot, Kevin Hassett, who has gone on the media multiple times in the last week to make an ass of himself, was dumb enough to admit it. That is the only thing shocking about this story. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to like and comment and share widely among your friends.